that while the rule is to remove a disused installation, in certain particular cases, the coastal state can choose to dump the installation or to leave it as it is, if it could create an artificial reef to facilitate fishing activities, provided that this does not create any prejudice to the protection of the marine environment. Another way of balancing different interests, including the interest of the coastal state. But if we have a broader view of the problem, if we consider also taking into account obligation, we can find that all the regime of fishing within the exclusive economic zone under the UNCLOS, at least under a first reading of the UNCLOS, is a sort of balancing the rights of the coastal state with the rights of other states interested in fishing. You know the regime, the coastal state is entitled to determine the total allowable catch of living resources in its own exclusive economic zone, and it is not able to exploit the totality. It is bound to give other states access to the service. If you read the provision, you understand that other states have a right to be granted access, but in fact things are not as simple as it seems at first sight, because first the coastal state is entitled to adopt a national legislation regulating fishing activities by other states, including in matters such as licensing, payment of fees and other forms of remuneration, establishment of joint ventures or other cooperative arrangements, and establishing technical measures for the conservation of living resources, quotas of catch, seasons and areas of fishing. Then the coastal state is not bound to submit to a compulsory way of settlement of disputes any determination it has made on the total allowable catch and on the allocation of surpluses to other states. So all the factors that can grant other states access to living resources of the coastal state are left to the discretion and domestic jurisdiction of the coastal state. Then we can have a broader interpretation of the rights granted to the coastal state in its own exclusive economic zone. For example, UNCLOS, in deciding the Virginia G case in 2014, decided that bunkering falls within the rights of the coastal state. So the supply of gas oil to fishing vessels can be regulated by the coastal state, because the coastal state is entitled to regulate not only fishing, but every activity which is directly related to fishing activities. And if you look at national legislation on fisheries, you see that in most cases bunkering is mentioned among the activities granted to the coastal state. And in general, national legislation on the exclusive economic zone puts emphasis more on the right of the coastal state than on the rights of other states. So in reality, due regard obligation do not play very much in favor of other states when you look in practice in of the regime of fisheries in the exclusive economic zone. Then we have some recent international decisions or advisory opinions which are relevant. The opinion by UNCLOS on the Sub-Regional Fisheries Commission of 2015, when the tribunal said that it is implied in Article 58 of the UNCLOS that among the due regard obligations of other states, there is the obligations to prevent illegal, unregulated, unreported fishing activities by vessels flying the flag of other states within the exclusive economic zone of a coastal state. This is an obligation of due diligence that must be complied with by the coastal state. So we give a certain content to the concept of due regard. Then we have the South China Sea Award, which is quite important for due regard obligation in the field of fisheries. And the tribunal disregarded historic fishing rights of China in waters belonging to the Philippines. A few minutes more, and it said that what has been granted by the UNCLOS to other states is conditional to the existence of a fishing surplus, and so if there is no fishing surplus, there are no more historic rights for other states. So even states which have long-standing fishing activities can be excluded or, in the best case, phased out of the exclusive economic zone if there is no surplus. So we cannot rely on previous historic rights. The new regime of the exclusive economic zone supersedes any kind of previous historic rights that other states can have in the exclusive economic zone of the others. And then it confirmed the obligation of due diligence of other states in controlling that vessels flying their flag do not engage in illegal, unregulated, unreported fishing activity. So the conclusion in the practical case was that in escorting national fishing vessels, China violated the obligation of due regard which belonged to the Philippines. So, in conclusion, in the UNCLOS, the fishing rights of other states in the exclusive economic zone are expressed in a contradictory manner. On the one hand, they are established, on the other hand, they are practically denied. And looking at international practice, such rights, if they ever existed, are more and more fading today. But this does not mean that in other areas the obligation of due regard has an important role to play, and I would put again emphasis on the fact that the game is not played only by two different states, but also the international community has something to say in this discussion. And thank you very much for your attention. 21 minutes, and I apologize for my overtime.
On the contrary, thank you so much, Professor, for accepting my small indications, and I'm certain there will be many occasions to give more answers on this part of your discussion and your presentation during the Q&A session. Especially, I'm certain that this explanation of the balance stroke between the coastal states' rights and the other states' rights, between theory and practice, will probably raise many discussions. So I leave the floor now to Professor Ishii for her presentation on jury guard obligations and the exercise of other freedoms in the exclusive economic zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Yurika ISHII from National Defense Academy of Japan. I'd like to start off by thanking the organizer of this workshop for having me here. It is a real honor and pleasure to be a part of this important event. Now, in this section, I'd like to talk about the scope and the content of the due obligation in peaceful and economic uses when a state exercises its freedoms within another state's EEZ. Now, I will try to avoid the overlap with the first section, but I'd like to make the general observation regarding the scope of the due obligation, and then I'd like to move on the individual case studies concerning the navigation and overflight, laying of cables and pipelines, and marine scientific research. Now, as it was fully explored in the first section, and as well as Professor SCOVAZZI, there's some common elements to the due regard obligation, which are mainly the duty to cooperate, which is to notify, consult, and negotiate with